श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। अथ the donations. Satyam, Kranti. All right. So just Namaste Tyagaraja Mahoday. So just what I wanted to say a few things about the donations this week. I will share them out. And the coming Sunday is supposed to be the last Sunday of the month, but we've already completed the course time. So what I was thinking is the last class we can have on the coming Monday, which will be just after the pujas. So just after the pujas, that Monday we'll try and wrap up this section that we've been doing. This section, I'll be starting another batch on the 1st of November for Ritambhara Wellness. So I'll send information as soon as I have about that. If anyone wants to join, and it'll be the same thing, more or less the same thing, but it comes out differently with different groups. But more or less it'll be the same content only. Astu. The other thing I wanted to also mention is about yesterday's talk where I was talking of this Ritam Bhara Prajna. So in the Yoga Sutras, the last, the Yoga Sutras, the first chapter has 51 verse sutras. And in those 51 sutras, the 48th sutra, so the first chapter, as Vinay was telling us, is about Samadhi Pada. It's trying to describe the different states of Samadhi. But why is it dedicating the first chapter to that? Because it is starting with defining what is yoga. So it is saying yoga is nothing but chitta vritti nirodha, the stoppage of the mental movements. So yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So once it says that, then it says, and therefore, what can we expect? When the chitta vritti has stopped, then what can we expect? But so he builds about, the sutra form is an excellent genre of literature. So they build on what are the vrittis, just like a thread. They'll take one word, build that up, take the next word, build that up, next word, next word. So it's like one whole thread throughout. So they're saying that what are the factors that block that samadhi from happening, that experience of oneness that yoga is describing. So what is allowing that to happen, what is blocking that, and how can we gradually work out till we arrive at the highest kind of samadhi that is described, which is nirbija samadhi, a state of a mind where there is no seed for new samskaras to form. It's a completely, what do I say, a silent samadhi, a complete silence. There is no resorting to, there is no resorting to forms or to sounds as means to attain that samadhi. So the 51st sutra is saying that. The 48th sutra talks about this idea of ritam bhara tatra prajna. So that awareness just before that nirbija samadhi state is called ritam bhara prajna. Now, when we do this mantra, which is Shanno Mitra Sham Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brihaspati Shanno Vishnu Rurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmam Avatu Tadvaktaram Avatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this particular verse, this particular mantra is an invocation to the different godheads who in the Vedic story represent different psychological possibilities of the human mind, the higher possibilities of the human mind. So when they are saying that, Ritam Vadishyami, Satyam Vadishyami, I will speak that which is right, I will speak that which is truth, and let both of these protect me. Avatu Bhaktaram, Avatu Mam, Avatu Bhaktaram. So protect me and protect whoever is the speaker. Okay. So this is what it's saying. So then the question is, what is this rhythm and where is it really? So I was thinking after my talk yesterday, I was getting, like I said, the better ideas of how I could have presented it. And one of the ways of understanding rhythm is that if you look at the way nature functions with incredible amount of mathematical precision. The flowers know exactly when to bloom, then they know exactly how to turn to the sun, the body is working, everything in the body is working perfectly in a kind of a right order of things. So the notion of rhythm, the rightness of existence is all around us in nature. Nature is the best example of the functioning of rhythm, which means that when things are working in the right manner, then everything is in harmony and everything flows smoothly one into the other. Then comes the human being. The human being is generally not in tune with the rightness of things. If you ask a human being, do you know what is right? We will say no. We say, I think I know. So the moment we say, I think I know, it implies that there is this mind layer, which in the Yoga Sutras is referred to as Chitta Bhumi. So it's that mind layer that is the obstruction for the individual to be spontaneously in tune with the rhythm of nature. Okay. Shantidi, tell me if this is making sense or not making sense. I mean, I'd love, since this is a more
Yes.
informal group.
Yeah, yeah, much better. This is much better.
The idea is this, that there is this mathematical working of everything in the right time, the right way, etc. The human being is disconnected from that. Why disconnected? Because of that layer of chitta that thinks about things, that carries on memories from the past. So when we act on the basis of a memory, we are not acting on the basis of the need of the moment. We are falling back on past realities and using those techniques to gauge what is the way to deal with the world. But by that process, we are invariably like unritam. We have moved away from ritam. So the whole of the Yoga Sutras first starts identifying. It says, what are those movements of the mind that block the functioning, or that block the connection, our spontaneous connection with the rhythm? And the other important idea with the rhythm is that when things are right, then, like I said, there is a flow. The moment there is not right, then there is pain. And how did I mean, I can say that with great confidence because my brother had this big accident and his knee was badly dislocated and all. I had literally at nights, I could spend almost hours, 1 or 2 hours, just trying to hold his knee and get it in the right place so that he doesn't have pain. The body, the functioning of the body is with an incredible amount of precision. And we take all of that for granted. But when there is something which is not right, then we experience pain. So the consequence of anritam is pain. The consequence of ritam is sukha, or flow, in a sense. So then the idea is that how do we take stock of those movements, the vrittis? Once we take stock of that, then how do we gradually reduce that noise? So I had all that noisy structure and all. It's really about saying how do we reduce the noise in our the mind stuff. That is the main layer of barrier between the existing knowledge that is there and the manifested understanding, awareness. So, by different processes that the Yoga Sutra promotes, including what Jairam Bharat had talked, the parikarmas, then Vinay talked of the Kriya Yoga, then you also have the different, the Ishvara Pranidhana, like he said, the mantra, the Om, chanting of Om, etc. These are all different techniques by which you can gradually thin down the noise first. So you reduce the noise, but because of the nature of the human being, sometimes they will blow up again, and then again there is reduced. So the desirable state of the mind is how do you reduce tanu karanam, katham tanu kurma, the whole noisy patterns, so that there is a direct possibility of a reflection of the Purusha consciousness which knows things on the Prakriti, on nature, and we can be in tune with the workings of nature around and inside us. So that was a long and short of the whole story I was trying to say yesterday. So Ritambhara Prajna, the next sutra says that that kind of knowledge is not dependent on agama. It is the trees don't say that what is written in the text and then it will bloom. They know spontaneously. Similarly, they don't refer to inferences to know things. Both these are tools that the human ordinary mind refers to in order to know anything. So, how does one stop all of that in order to have direct access to knowledge? So, that sutra after Ritambhara Tatra Prajna, it says the next part is that the knowledge that will come is not dependent on Anumana and Agama, etc., because it is a different kind of a knowledge. And when we are in tune, then we don't, there are samskaras that form, but they are not samskaras that generate extra noise. In the sense that you know what to do and you do it, and therefore there is no need to adjust, there is no need to do anything more. All right. And therefore, there are no samskaras that are formed, and therefore you can attain to Nirbija Samadhi. That's the closing of the first chapter, Samadhi Pada chapter. And just for the Ritambhara, one of the terms they use is Samahita Chitta. Samahita Chitta implies when the Chitta is no longer in turmoil due to the Rajas tendencies of the Rajoguna or the tendencies of the Tamoguna. So these movements are not troubling the mind, and therefore one can quieten down. Why am I saying all this, and how does it tie in with what we are doing with the Sanskrit? Sanskrit seems to have an intrinsic property of rhythm in it. And what do we mean by that? That the sounds that are the basis of this language are seem to have an attunement with the workings of the cosmos. They are not dependent on what each of us thinks about those sounds. Nobody has sat and said, okay, now what sounds can we include in this language? The sounds were heard and the sounds are reproduced. Therefore, when we try to reproduce the sounds in the perfection of the system, then we are not allowing our nature to be swayed by to be swayed by preferences and aversions. That Vinay also talked about these kleshas. So what normally sways us off track, we get swayed off the rhythm by all these. There are, they say, 5 kleshas. The first klesha is avidya. Avidya, there is a definition of avidya. Avidya is basically when you take the impermanent to be permanent, when we take the non-blissful to be blissful. So when we are basically, we have mistaken knowledge and we consider that to be absolute and true. Then we are already in illusion. So whatever we function on that basis will be erroneous, logically. The second big complex patterns is our asmita. Who do I think I am? What are my preferences? I speak like that. I like the more we have the rigid formation of our identity, the more it leads to a kind of a fragility of existence, because it has to be that. If it is not that, then it is not me. Then I cannot adjust with things. So asmita is the next big barrier. The the subsequent kleshas, by klesha we mean these klishta patterns, these complex psychological patterns. And the more complex they are, the more mooded it becomes, the more the dark, or like darkened and noisy the layer of the chitta is. So the next problem that they say is raga, attachments. That's another motivation for action. So when we are working out of attachments, we are often blind to a lot of things. Similarly, when we are working out of aversions or dvesha, then many of us, for example, we do not do some things, we do not talk to some people because we don't like it, we don't think, but sometimes it might be a good idea to do it. Maybe that is a good thing to be done for us, but we don't do it because we don't like it so much. So these preferences and dislikes are huge swayers of the highway, of the main track of doing what is shreyas, doing the right thing. Okay. And then we have the last one is abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is the fear, the insecurity of going away, basically, of death. So we see that the more there is attraction, the more there is attachments because of attractions and aversions, it all boils down to an experience finally of an insecurity of existence. So where the Sanskrit really helps is because it's, you see, these movements are very, very subtle movements. They are not like, the gross things. So they're these very subtle movements. So the more there are these subtle movements when we are trying to articulate something, because that is the way it is to be articulated, somewhere we are not allowing the mind to get swayed by conditionings. And the more we are able to do that, the more we are able to stick to the right, because this is what it has to be done. This is, and I just do my dharma and do it, reproduce it the way it has to be done. The grammar again doesn't allow that much of flexibility. That is how the structure is. We just have to reproduce it like that. Okay, there is a little bit of flexibility because language is, after all, a grammatical structure is, after all, based on usage. So the grammarians saw how people used it and then formulated grammar. It's not that first grammar came and then language was used in society. So language was used in society, and from there a grammatical text was derived. So there is a bit of a little more freedom when it comes to sentence constructions, etc. The use of vibhakti, you'll have 2, 3 variations of when the vibhaktis can be used, and that's why I showed you all the different cases. When all do the vibhaktis get used? Astu. And so this Ritambhara Prajna, in my understanding, is something that is spontaneously evoked with the usage of Sanskrit. So, like I say, Sanskrit seems to fine tune our consciousness to truth. And that is a special characteristic of this language. And I hope that was a little more clear. But this idea that, rhythm is not something which is unknown to us. All of us know it. Rhythm exists around us, but we are not in tune with rhythm. The question is, can we become in tune with rhythm? Yes. How? By allowing our personal colorings to subside. Those personal colorings come from happen due to various reasons. To first become aware of those multiple reasons and then gradually work on them to reduce them so that there is a greater degree of attunement with the natural laws of existence. And with that would come the joy, with that would come the simplicity, with that would come the confidence, with that would come health. All of that falls in place because one is in tune. Iti. So I have a question. Eka prashnaha asti. How do you explain the logic of disruption, destruction in nature as well as in the human world? Part of the larger harmonious order. So a few things there. So a few things there. One is that we see that a lot of disruptions are happening also because of human interference with the laws of things. That human interference is coming again because of greed, lack of attunement. There are just uh, so many parameters of disconnect, so many factors that have led to a disconnect. First and foremost, the first disconnect, forget with nature, the first disconnect is with ourselves. So we are not even in tune with why we are here, what do I have to do here, who am I to start with. First, who am I? What am I here to do? Am I doing what I'm here to do? So many of these very simple but foundational questions. If we can get in touch with ourselves, the beauty is the because nature, everything is interconnected. The more we get in tune with ourselves, we get in tune with the world outside. It's that kind of a movement. So it's not that first I will get in tune with myself, then I will get. There's no linearity of this movement. The more spontaneously one gets in tune with oneself, one starts understanding the rhythms of the world around us. And therefore, our ancients had put a premium on investing in self knowledge. And all the systems of knowledge, all Indian knowledge systems are based on this foundation that into order to whatever you create has to be based on this rhythm of things. And that's the reason why the idea of dharma played such a key role. The idea of dharma, I'll get back to my favorite example of the glove. Or let's, I mean, for me, the idea of the glove, because there is the upholding, is in a sense best explained here, where one has to know. So the moment I say right, it implies right according to what? So one has to know the contours of one's hand. That's the right. Then wear a glove that will fit it exactly, which is ritam, the right glove. When we do that, the hand is held in the best way possible, which is dharma. And the work that happens is of the best, is of the highest quality, which is brihat. So when all these combinations come together, then prosperity will happen. Abhyudaya, Shreyas and Abhyudaya will follow. Okay, which means that the best results. You will have a prosperous society if everybody is in tune with dharma, their own dharma. So the Indian society was always interested in the rhythm of things. We were not looking for happy life, and that was not the main quest of the Indian mind. The quest of the Indian mind was originally what is the right thing to do? And dharma, therefore, dharma is the one word constitution of our land, as one of the very senior professors, Professor Kapil Kapoor, was saying. He says India was the land of a one word constitution, dharma. Why? Dharyate iti dharma. What does dharanam mean? Dharanam implied you had to know what the truth is and live according to that truth. So, in one word, it captures Satyam and Ritam combination. And if one could practice dharma, brihat would automatically follow. So they really said, understand dharma, follow dharma, which means that every single thing in the universe has a kind of a mathematical optimum. So if I give you another example, यदि अहम इदानीं किञ्चित् संस्कृते अपि वदामि, संस्कृतेन वदिष्यामि, यदि कूपी द्वयम् अस्ति, अस्तु कूपी द्वयं बोटल द्वयम्, ओके कूपी द्वयम् अस्ति, एकस्मात् कूप्याः अहम् एकस्याः कूप्याः नॉट एकस्मात् कूप्याः और एककूप्याः अहम् एककूप्याः अन्यकूप्यां जलं स्थापयामि अस्तु तत्र संभावना द्वयम् अस्ति अहम् ऐदर् मन्दं मन्दं स्थापयामि तर्हि जलं न पतति मम यदि पर्याप्तज्ञानम् अस्ति अहं शीघ्रं स्थापयामि यदि सम्यक् न स्थापयामि जलं सर्वत्र भवति राइट यदि सर्वत्र जलं भवति इतोपि कार्यं भवति so there is more work that follows because swachhata karanam etc astu so when I have to pour water from one bottle to another there is a mathematical optimum that if I pour at this speed, this way and all, in this manner, this speed, there is a mathematical optimum. That mathematical optimum is Satya. When I'm pouring the water, if I don't have sufficient skill, I will pour it slowly. If I pour it slowly, I will spend more time. That more time is, in a sense, the anrita. If I pour it too fast, because I'm in a hurry, I will spill. Again, there is anrita. Because I have to then clean up, there is extra work. Every time we are not doing something in the rita, there is always an extra something. That extra something is what creates a little bit of a challenge. So the motto of the land that we have, Bharate, Asti, Satyam Eva Jayate Nanritam. That's the full, that should have been the full one. Mundakopanishad. Mundakopanishadaha mantraha. Satyam Eva Jayate Nanritam. But they chucked out the Nanritam. In my view, that is the most important thing. Because with the taking out of Anritam, Nanritam, everybody saying my Satya, your Satya. This is not about your and my Satya. This is about the optimum Satya. And if anybody can act according to that optimum, there will always be the best. Iti bodhaha tatra. So it's a very beautiful concept. But this idea that we therefore need to uh, purify our intelligence to to tune ourselves, to channelize rhythm in our manifested lives. Iti. Astu. Spashtam. Hmm? Importance of non-rhythm. Mathematical optimum is so easy to understand, and yet so satyam. No, so that is the whole thing. So, like I said, yesterday I was in some kind of a phase. I was not. It was not my best. But chalati, it was what it was. It was unrhythm for different reasons. But chinta nasti. But it's important to get this, and that's why the word is ritam bhara tatra prajna. Ritena bhara, full of ritam. The awareness that is full of ritam. Astu. So, having said this, kinchit sanskritam kurma, because what I'd like us to do is we'll just look at Shantiti Spashtamadhya. Oh God, Subramaniam.
Um,
Oh, Idanim. Yesterday I jumped into that drawing and then, I mean,
yeah, that Mooda that took too much time yesterday. The Mooda stuff.
okay, okay. No, but what I can do is I can just share this with you because I can share this. Ekakshanam. The whole thing is in a nutshell, which I should have actually shown it there. Tishtatu. The Muda and Vikshipta and all of that, I was trying to sound a bit scholarly. We should have tried so hard. Uh, so, Atra. Tishtatu. I'll try and share this one. Etat. So this is the summary, in a sense, of that whole thing. Whatever I've just told you. What are these things? These are nothing but it's saying that so this vibration that we are talking about is a multi-layered one, because from a sound perspective we are vibrating at various levels, and the pattern of who we are is a complex web of these sounds. And those sounds are noisy. So the chitta, so that's what this noisy thing was nothing but that. And then the idea is how do we smoothen it out in order to get in tune with the rhythm? That's the whole thing. Okay. So unrhythm, you can see all those words there, but it could be. So the whole rajas, tamas, for me, it becomes very easy to see it. So when a being is in a lot of noise, then it corresponds to the tamoguna. And what corresponds to this noise? When you're physically not well, emotionally it's in a mess, mentally there is confusion, which corresponds to the mudha chitta. It's so gross, it's so dense that there is inaction, you don't know what to do. Then where there's a little more liberation in that, then that corresponds to your kshipta, where there is movement, but it's dynamic. It's not like so dense in its confusion. So there is some dynamism there. Then comes the next stage of vikshipta, where in that noise, there are time to time there is a clarity. Okay, clarity. And then again back to the noise. And then clarity. That is vikshipta. So we are moving from rajas to sattva. Then comes ekagra, where suddenly there is much more focus. There is an alignment that is happening. So where the physical is in aligned with the very typical examples is like when I'm hungry, I don't always eat. When I'm sleepy, I don't always sleep. So we see we are not really, and why are we doing all this? Because we don't really know the needs of the body. We don't really know the emotional state. We don't know how each of this is impacting the other. But the more conscious we become, the more we start getting in control also of our different functionings, and the breath plays an important role. So then comes the last stage, which is niruddha. And with the niruddha comes a cessation. But the way I understand it, the cessation is not a complete stoppage because we are in movement. As human beings, we are in movement. But what is the cessation? The cessation is when you are in complete tune. So when two trains are going exactly at the same speed, they seem as if they are not moving. So when we are in complete attunement and complete alignment at all the levels of our being, then it seems as if there is no movement. It seems as if there is niruddha. But movement is there. But it's in that rhythm. Everything is functioning in the way it should function. So there is no extra noise. There's nothing jarring in that system. And one of the beautiful things is that the reason why we move away from the main thing is because, like I said, the mind is not tuned in. So we do the anritam. The more we are able to act in rhythm, the less we create these extra movements to be made. This extra movement that we're doing is what I understand to be the whole karma baggage. It's like if there is a highway and I am going on my way, which is not in tune with the highway, I might go and hit a dead end. I might go and my petrol will finish on that thing. So if I have taken a deviation, that extra route to come back is the karmic baggage. So when they say that we need to act nishkama karma and with manmana bhava mad bhakto, we have to offer. The more we offer, we do Ishvara pranidhana, the more we offer and open up our consciousness beyond the ego self that I know what is the right thing. And you say that there is the right, can I become an instrument of that right? So the more we allow that instrument swabhava to take on in our lives, the less we are deviating from, I think this is, so the my way, highway choice. So the moment we say that I am sitting in the driver's seat, but let let the force that knows the path guide the driving. Normally what happens is I sit on the driver's seat and I know where I have to go, but we don't. So we are invariably off track. So the idea is how can you be on the steering wheel and allow the GPS literally to guide you home in the fastest route possible. So when we are able to do that, then there is no samskaras, no additional samskaras that are created. Astu, huh? Iti. So this is how I make sense of the whole thing.
Anu,
Huh, vadatu.
Tara here.
Taradi, vadatu.
May I add? Okay. May I add my 2 paisa bit?
Kripaya, kripaya.
Okay.
Huh.
Okay. Since you are deep into this, and I've seen this diagram of yours and understood your theory several times. And each time I must say some things become clearer. But I want to also add, that the basic laws of physics are like this. You're talking of nature. And the laws of physics are nothing but our understanding of nature, right? And we talk, when you say each one has a particular um, uh, sound frequency. Okay, so we each body, whether it's a stone or whether it is a human body or whether it is any creature, whatever it is, has a natural frequency, with which Okay, it is associated with its own natural frequency. And when, say, your natural frequency becomes exactly the same as my natural frequency, then there is resonance.
Satyam.
That is if I am, my whatever my motion is, like you're saying, we're always in motion. Whatever my motion is, it will induce the same motion in you. There will be a greater transfer of energy, okay, because our natural frequencies are matching. Okay, so the way I'm
Satyam.
understanding what you are saying is, for this Ritambhara Prajna, is that our natural frequency, when it becomes resonant, okay, with the cosmic frequency,
Satyam.
or um, with the frequency.
With the
Uh,
cosmic
I
frequency
don't
is a
know if
way of
I
saying it.
should use the word cosmic frequency. Well, it okay. So then there is complete resonance, and
Satyam.
then the need to do anything goes away. The need to start doing something which is prompted by like or dislike
Correct.
is not
Satyam.
there anymore.
Satyam.
Hmm?
Satyam. Yes.
And in fact, we are now working on Kenopanishad. And
Ah.
in Kenopanishad, the very first idea that
Page
we are
comes to the
presenting, which is
place.
in chapter 3 actually, is this
Ah.
beautiful story between, no, we are
Satyam.
doing the chapter
Acha, 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 you're doing the story. Ha, 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 ha.
3 first. Okay, so which has the story of uh, ultimate crux of the story is we are but instruments.
Satyam.
There is a greater force that is acting through us,
Satyam.
which of course is called the Brahman. So it is the Brahman that
Satyam.
is acting, and therefore to feel that I am doing something is anritam.
Satyam. 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 That is how I understand it as well.
I just wanted to share. Yeah.
Um.
So I was just
Satyam.
drawing my parallels of physics and Kenopanishad. Okay.
Uttamam. Uttamam. No, and also this idea that we are uh, when we are that's why in every tradition they talk of bhakti and this atma samarpanam. The more we are in the atma samarpanam, what is really shifting is the going from ignorance to a more enlightened action. Our normal actions are colored, or they are really colored, or they are enacted through the filters of our own conditionings. So the
Yes.
more, and though that conditioning is the layer that forms who we are, who we think we are,
Yes.
and it is limited.
Yes.
It is by that very
Yes.
nature a Brahmanam.
Yes.
And that is the reason why in society the Brahmanas, the true Brahmana was so valued. Because a true Brahmana was Ritambhara Prajna. A true
Yes.
Brahmana could guide society to know the greater laws. It would help. A true Brahmana would help the attunement. It was like the master steerer of the entire society to to come back to the right. That's why in the king's court you had to have a good Brahmana, because he would, if the king is getting misled for whatever reasons, it was the duty of the Brahman in the court to bring him back, to show him the right path, to show him dharma.
Right.
So very interesting there.
Anu,
Satyam.
can I,
Suchiri, yes.
yeah, can I just, I mean, I'm a little, it's just a question which is
Ah,
follows from what Tara had said. So I'm not sure uh, what works here. So she said about resonance, uh,
hmm,
but I'm trying to see in terms of the vibration itself. Uh, if you say that almost zero vibration state is reality, is Brahman actually, or whatever. So actually, what you're trying to do is to completely like modulate to, like if you say, if you take Om also, the last part of after that is it's even the, it is absolutely just the vibration, almost no vibration. Then you're, you would rather what you're trying to do is to modulate your internal chaotic vibrations to almost a vibrationless state, right?
Satyam,
Would
Satyam,
that be
Satyam.
so? That would be like what you have in the Mandukya, the um,
Om
yeah, I'm getting blank.
Satyam. No, no. So that is what. So the idea is like, how do you basically simplify the movements? How do you simplify the noisy structures? So that is the movement. So all these vibrations, when you're doing the Om, instead of a chaotic internal vibratory pattern, you bring in a certain frequency which becomes the dominant frequency along which all the others align or resonate with. We've got Tyagarajuji, we've got a few physicists here also who can maybe enlighten us more in terms of the terminologies that are being used. So, basically, this is what I understand. Huh? So the idea is that how do we resonate with a deeper frequency, with a truer frequency? How do we resonate with that? And the beauty is that this is, from the Indic perspective, this exists in everyone at all the levels. So this is, I mean, in my understanding, if I have to connect it to the whole Vedic story, in the Vedic story, Vaidika Kim vadama, Jnane, in the Kathopanishad, Tatra, you have this whole Pancha Agni Vidya, no? Agni is nothing but Jata Vedas. Agni is the carrier of the blueprint of our purpose of our existence. It is the Jata Vedas. And it is burning at each of these levels. So it is burning at the physical level, it is burning at the emotional, the prana level, it is burning at the Manomaya Kosha, it's burning at the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and it is burning at the Anandamaya Kosha. So the idea is that when we have to know that Agni at each of these levels, it's not about only the mind that knows that I am Brahman and everything else can be dropped and done away with. If one wants to experience immortality in its completeness, which was the goal of the Vedic rishis, then, and why immortality in its completeness? Because that is the nature of Brahman. It's This is a very profound question that I will go into, but the question really is this: that if the substratum energy, if the energy which forms the substratum of everything is undying, it is everywhere, it is all knowing, when it enters into form of the human stuff, at what point does death enter the picture? See, undying, 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 dying, 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 dying. So, what is in us that is, uh, in a sense, responsible for the death of the mechanism, of the system? And by that same logic, the immortal is our birthright. So when the Vedic rishis referred Yadate Avadan, that hey Amritasya Putraha, it was not some kind of a hyperbole or some kind of a fantasy that they were having. They said that you are essentially formed of Brahman stuff. Re-experience that Brahmanhood in all aspects of your life. Physically, that should be possible if one knows how to represent spirit in matter, the qualities. How do we get into matter, which is, the mother says this very beautifully from the ashram. She says that one of the reasons why death happens is because every lifetime is an opportunity for the spirit to manifest its capacities into form. The form, by its very nature, is an antithesis to the qualities of the spirit. The spirit is formless, form is formed, and therefore it is characteristically it is an antithesis to the qualities of the spirit. And yet, form has been created so that it can be transformed beyond its limited nature. Because form is also made of Brahman stuff. But and that's why the body, the cells, everything knows about its Brahmanness. But we don't allow the body to function according to its Brahmanness. We are always intervening with our, causing all the blockages, causing so many limitations. At the pranic level, there are blockages. At the mental level, there are blockages. So how I understand the Pancha Agni Vidya is that how can we go back to the blueprint, the Jata Vedas, at the level, at each of these levels, ignite all of that, and then Amritasya Putraha will be a living reality. And she says that she says that death happens when the spirit is trying its level best to express itself in matter, and at some point it realizes that nahi hone wala hai, and then it withdraws, and then it starts that experiment all over again. So that's the reason in the ashram school there was so much of importance to physical exercise, because they said the body consciousness has to be awakened. And that's what yoga, hatha yoga, and all of the hatha yogis do. They basically awaken the consciousness of the body and make it so flexible, they make it so pliable that it has the freedom to go beyond the our conceived notions of what it is capable and what it is not. And at that level then it starts connecting to a deeper reality of itself. So we normally function, like I say in my classes here, I said we function at a classical level of physics, but reality is a quantum reality as well. So what do we need to do consciously to move from a classical level of existence to the quantum reality of our existence? And can we live life quantum level? What would life look like quantum level? If we had to if we suddenly all got quantum lenses, then what would the world look like? What would we look like? It's a fun exercise to do. So maybe we can do that and end on that note here. Astu. So what I would suggest is that we close our eyes. And next time, what I'd like us to do, and next time I'd like us to, we'll do the 20th lesson. Astu, the 20th lesson, because it is that sentence building. So I ask one sentence, what you've been doing as an exercise. Okay. So it's just that sentence building, one word and then the next and then the next. So we'll make these long sentences that we've done and make sure that we've come. So I would suggest this last week that you have, see whatever questions you have, doubts you have that I can help you with. That will be nice. Astu. So I think at the end we'll just do this exercise and close on that note. Tari netre. So close your eyes and I would say just first of all, so just close your eyes and put your awareness on the from outside. So take your regard on yourself. So look at yourself from outside and take a good or take stock of the whole physical form that we identify ourselves with. There's a shape, there's a color, there's a size, there's a weight. So just do a scan and feel that reality as concretely as possible. And now I would like you to take that lens. So we're looking at ourselves from outside, and that's how we normally conceive ourselves. I'd like you to take the lens inside and look outwards. So if you had to have an inner, inside perspective understanding of yourself, what would that look like? And already when we are a group of people looking at ourselves from that layer or that level, then you start noticing that the specificities that we attached ourselves with when we look from outside are not as distinct when you're looking at it from inside. And then you connect to any one part of your body that you relate to. And then we'll do a zooming in. So as you zoom into that part of yourself, go into it as deeply as you can and come to the molecular level, the cellular level first, then the molecular level, then the atomic level, then go further into it, and then you're just witnessing particles. And that's just in one part. And then extend that experience of that particle vibrational reality to the rest of yourself. Suddenly look at the world from this quantum lens perspective. And in that, try to identify the center of your being. Where would you place the locus of your identity? And where does your being stop and where does the being of the next person start? From a quantum lens perspective. So just stay in that awareness for a few minutes. So just as you breathe, take one or two deep breaths. As you shwasa prashwasam karoti, see where does that breath go. Breath kim asti, prana kim. Idanim punarapi, once again, sukshma sharirat, from that subtle state of self, sthula shariram rati agachantu. Zoom back into your gross reality. So back from the particles to the molecule, to the atoms, to the molecules, to the cells, to the blood, muscle, flesh. Then you look at yourself from outside. And you can just rub your palms together, place them lightly on your eyelids, and give your cranium a nice massage. Face, neck, chest, back of the chest, shoulders, fingertips, thighs, knees, ankles, toes. Basically, just this whole thing that when you look at the world from a quantum lens, it looks very, very different from what we normally associate to be our reality. So if anybody has any comments, and then we'll close. Punanji, धन्यवाद. बहु संस्कृतं नासीत्, but किमर्थं संस्कृतम्? I hope I have helped to establish. ऋतं भरा प्रज्ञा इति संस्कृतम्. सत्यं, धन्यवाद.